A lot of people are talking about this interview with John Fury, including Eddie Hearn, who has responded to what John Fury said in this interview. He said he was disappointed at what John Fury said. Essentially, if you haven't seen it, John Fury is expressing his frustration with not only Eddie Hearn, but also Bob Arum and Frank Warren over the fact that this fight between his son and Anthony Joshua still hasn't been signed yet. John Fury is skeptical about whether they can get the money together to put the fight on because of the fact that it's going to be difficult to get a lot of fans in. So he seems very unsure about the fight going ahead, talks about that. And there's a lot of speculation. Reading between the lines, is John Fury telling us everything explicitly here? Or is there something else going on that him and his son are not happy about with regards to finding a location for this fight? Maybe some of the restrictions are things they're not happy about. For example, the restrictions for Dylan White's fight against Alexander Povetkin the other week. Some people are saying, well, maybe the Furies are not happy with those kind of restrictions being in place. If they fight in a certain country or a certain location, maybe it's a moral issue for the Furies. And I'm not saying the Furies are saints by any means. Both John Fury and his son Tyson have told some very tall tales over the years. But I also don't think they're completely devoid of morality at all. Maybe they've got their own unique morality that a lot of people don't understand. But I do believe that they have their own values, and some of these values they believe in very, very strongly. And that's something I can relate to because I'm like that as well. I have certain values that I believe in very, very strongly, whereby you couldn't come to me and offer me this money or that money to get me to break those values. So it's interesting speculating, but we can never know. All Eddie Hearn has said is that he's working very hard, talking to various different sites, and that in the next few days, he's going to present offers to both fighters from these different sites. Maybe there's no issue with regards to restrictions and all that kind of stuff. Maybe there is no moral conundrum or anything that the Furies are dealing with. It's just speculation at the moment. I hope that John Fury is wrong in terms of his skepticism about whether this fight's going to go ahead. I hope he's wrong. I want to see the fight. I hope Eddie Hearn and his glasses half full positive mentality turns out to be right. I guess we'll find out in the next few days. Another thing people are talking about with regards to this John Fury interview is some of the stuff he talks about in relation to what's going on in the world right now. And he's absolutely bang on. I couldn't fault him even slightly. And some of us saw this over a year ago. So I can absolutely 100% co-sign what John Fury says in regards to that. Hopefully it's not as hopeless moving forward as John Fury suggests in this interview. Again, I'm going to take a leaf out of Eddie Hearn's book and try and be a bit glasses half full mentality about that. Because at the end of the day, if you believe that any situation is hopeless, then it is hopeless. The only chance you have in any situation is to believe that you have hope. Even if it's only a fraction of a percent of a chance. Hope is what's going to allow you to give yourself any chance at all. You know, there's a saying I used to have, and I'm sure other people have very similar versions of the saying. There's no way to guarantee victory, but the one way to guarantee failure is to not try at all. You see, a positive mental attitude and putting some effort in, even against all odds, will at least give you some kind of a chance, even if it's very improbable. So that's all I'll say about that. John Fury is quite a cynical individual, quite a skeptical, pessimistic person. That's how he comes across to me. The confidence he has and the optimism he has seems to be in his son more than anything else in his life. He believes in his son with 100% confidence or close to that. he doesn't seem to believe in much else that strongly. Perhaps his, religious faith and all that kind of stuff to some degree. But does John Fury believe in himself to the degree he believes in his son? I don't think so. I think a lot of John Fury's behavior it's almost like in fact, he said this himself. He said that our family was nothing until my son came along. Isn't that an interesting thing to say? Our family was nothing until my son came along. It's almost as if all the frustrations John Fury has had in his life, all the things he's been angry about in the world, he was able to gain revenge on all the people who have made life difficult for him, all the obstacles he's suffered. He was able to strike back against all those obstacles and against all those people with his son. So it's not necessarily living vicariously through his son. I guess to some degree it may be, but it's more coming up with a counterattack, a secret weapon to fight down all of the obstacles and all of the people who he feels have held him back in his life. He can now use his son to strike back against them. So, yeah, very interesting character, John Fury. And I love a John Fury interview. I used to love a Tyson Fury interview back in the days. Before Tyson Fury's hiatus from boxing, where he had his issues and whatever, his interviews were always very interesting and hilarious. But after his comeback, for whatever reason, he's just not as engaging anymore, at least not for me. I skip most Tyson Fury interviews and I don't find them particularly interesting. But John Fury interviews are absolute must watch. I can't say I've watched every John Fury interview, but I've definitely watched the vast majority of them, because it's not just what he says, it's the way he says it. The funny little phrases that he has and stuff like that. At one point in this interview, I think he says, "Can a dog lay eggs?" He just has like funny, very interesting, old school, real old school phrases and terms that you don't really hear anymore. I find it very entertaining. So, yeah, I always love a John Fury interview. I think it's a great character to have in boxing. And if you haven't seen this one that he does, I highly recommend it. Head on over there and watch the interview and let me know what you think of it. But as I say, I hope that he's wrong with regards to the fight between his son and AJ, the money situation. And by the way, if what Eddie Hearn says is true, that he's the only one flying around, going to all these different locations and talking to people face to face about staging the fight, if he's the only one doing any work and Frank Warren and Bob Arum are not doing anything, that's not a very good indication, is it? I mean, yeah, Bob Arum is a very old man. Is he 90? He's there or thereabouts. Maybe you could forgive him for not flying around the world all over the place because he's as old as dust. But with Frank Warren, he's what, in his 70s? He should still be able to get about a bit. Quite a bit younger than Bob Arum. Still got plenty of fire in his belly. If Eddie Hearn's really the one doing all the legwork for this, that's quite disappointing. You would think that all the promoters involved would be equally as enthusiastic. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. But that's, again, assuming what Eddie Hearn says is true. I don't know. Maybe we'll hear from Frank Warren, who's going to refute what Eddie Hearn said. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below about everything I've discussed in this video. Come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide range of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&A sessions, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalogue of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got a Discord server where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. There's no contract, no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.